Now, the business side of things obviously still a big issue as well in KZN. The province just beginning to recover from the July riots of last year. And now, of course, over R1 billion is going to be needed immediately just to help with some of the damage. Well, the business sector also badly affected. The province relies on small business and tourism. Let's talk small business now with Development Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams launching a relief scheme. Minister, good evening to you. Thank you for your time. Tell me how this relief scheme is going to work.
Good evening, Gareth, and good evening to all the viewers at home. Of course, the small businesses, we are the hardest hit in whatever that is happening in KZN. As we're talking right now, we've set aside just for KZN Relief Fund in terms of a 50 million rand grant, and we are providing 10 million to informal traders. On top of that, we have said through our TRAP program, which is the Township and Rural Enterprise Program, we've set aside 800 million rands in order to make sure that the formal businesses that want to access that money, which is a blended financing, they can be able to apply for that. And of course, at the center of it is ensuring that our small businesses do have an opportunity to help the ministers that are busy with service delivery in terms of the human settlements, in terms of the roads, because we have a 30% in terms of the benefits that the small businesses must get from that. And when small businesses now are affected, it means they may not be able financially to carry out those responsibilities when they're given that opportunity. This is why we are saying through our CFA wholesale fund, we're therefore calling upon those businesses that will get that opportunity to make sure that they apply and get more. The 800 million that I'm talking about is just for township and rural enterprise. And as I said, the 50 million rands grant is for the businesses that that do not have insurance, and therefore the 10 million rands is for informal traders that do not have insurance at all. The 800 million for formal businesses, both those that have insurance and those that do not have.
All right, so there's a lot of money coming into the coffers here. It's going to be distributed as well. I think it will be a sigh of relief for township and rural enterprises, informal traders, and companies that don't have insurance. But that was going to always be key. What about those who aren't insured, Minister? So that's good news. This sounds like it's going to be a logistical nightmare, though, trying to vet and try and verify who should be getting this money and who shouldn't get this money. What's our timeline on this? When do people start getting money?
Well, to start with, those that are informal businesses, they are applying. The closing date is the 22nd of April. So they've started with the applications as I'm speaking to you, and we're going to close on the 22nd. And then we are saying they must get everything that is due to them after 21 days from the 22nd of April. For the formal businesses, we are opening up applications from the 25th of April until the second week of May. There we are saying the minimum is 30 days and maximum is 60 days, wherein everything would have been processed. Of course, Gareth, I'm aware of the challenges that people are talking about when it comes to us dispersing these funds, which is why we said we're going to dispatch our teams to the affected areas. But we are working with the local government, we are working with the provincial government in order to also ensure that we avoid double dipping, which is why when we say a grant is for uninsured businesses, we will be working with SASRIA in order for them to be able to help indeed verify that indeed Stella Ndabeni SOC or whatever name indeed is not insured, because others, they go and apply for their insurances and then they come and apply in government. And we appeal to all those that are involved to make sure that we save government and make sure that the money goes to those that are in much need. And there's many of them, as I've said.
It's reassuring to hear no double dipping is going to be taking place, and agencies are going to be on the ground to manage the payout of this as well. Help me understand, Minister, we're talking about an awful amount of money. This didn't just appear out of thin air. Where else has this money been moved from for you to get such good access? I'm sure many people are very grateful that you've done it, but where has this money come from?
Well, as I said, the 800 million is a budget that is there already for our township and rural enterprise program. So we're not shifting it. It's a budget that is there to say we respond from whoever that applies for that funding. And now we're encouraging, especially in KZN, because as I said, there's a disaster at hand. There are also opportunities with the crisis that is there, which is why if there are opportunities, they shouldn't therefore be lacking funding. They should tap into that funding that I spoke about. So it's a standard fund that we have. The only separate fund is the 50 million grant that is going to uninsured businesses. Of course, we had to look around and scrape from that. Our accounting officers, the DG, the CEOs of our two agencies are the ones that said, Minister, here we are likely not to spend much, or we have not spent, and therefore we still be able to meet the targets without running short of funds. So they scraped and identified those funds for now.
It's been a devastating time for KZN, hasn't it, Minister? And I understand, of course, you've got to sit in Parliament. You've got to be able to go back into government with your government hat on as well. But from a personal perspective, it's been a devastating time for KZN. The riots last year, the flooding as well now. And just tell me your impressions of how impactful this has been on small business. We were just beginning to come right as a province, and now we've been smacked down again.
Indeed, Gareth, as I said, this is the most devastating period for us. As you are saying, it's building from the July 16, 2021 incidents that we have seen, which is why we caution everyone in terms of the actions that we take, no matter how frustrated we are, to always think about the impact on the economy. Small businesses had to close. In terms of them not being able to operate, others had to retrench, and that impacts negatively on the economy of whatever province. We may be looking at this as it's happening in KZN, but we know that KZN is one of the economic hubs in this country. Therefore, if we are to remove funds from wherever that we're taking from to put in KZN, there are investors in those provinces that at times get to want to change their minds. And when that happens, you're not certain that they will go to the other provinces. They may leave the country completely. And therefore, this leads to the small businesses that were benefiting from the opportunities by those investors, for them to be devastated, having to close or retrench people. But at the center of it is the frustration that now we are not seeing the small businesses being able to play their meaningful role in the economy. And that talks to creating jobs and helping indeed grow the economy that is transformative. Because most of our small businesses, we know that they come from the townships and the rural areas.